You'd think that I would have something planned as a big event, but I'm just dead tired. I've been weary of stupid work shit. What can I talk about? What can I even do? What can man do? Hey, what's going on, guys? This is take 4, but you don't know that. We just hit 100 and something subscribers. That's pretty cool. This is nothing I really planned by any necessary stretch of the imagination. I don't even know how to feel about that, actually. But I know a lot of the times we, in the modern world, get hooked up on and hung on or whatever. A lot of numbers, right? Someone sees a video that's got 20,000 views, you're like, this is such a small video. And I always want to tell those people, like, that's not something to scoff at. That's a town. You know what I mean? That's a city of people like that have watched something. So for me, I think my highest video right now is 352 views. That is like astounding to me. Like, I am fucking flabbergasted by that. 100% flabbergasted. That is 352 more views than I ever would expect. Which kind of leads me to the point of, for me, I don't really care about that kind of stuff, how many views it gets. It's cool and all that, but most people nowadays have such a short attention span. It's almost retarded. Do you know what I mean? It really is. 30 seconds, guys? Come on. Not you, not people here, generally. But like people that are surfing on there, and I'm like, come on. Like, that's not a good sign. Like, we're going into the future and we're going to have that mentality? Like, that's not good. That is not good. We're walking into collapse hand in hand at this point. So, the point is, I don't like a lot of views because that's what it is. It's average people going, I don't know, he's not entertaining enough, or you know, and they don't take it seriously, and I don't want to be a part of that. So that's why you'll notice I don't do the algorithmic things that I should be doing to help boost my numbers. Because I don't want more views, because more views means more dumb people, and more dumb people means more stupid situations in chats and all this and that. I just don't want to deal with that. So I kind of like being in the dark a little bit. I kind of like my little corner where I can get, on average, about 30 to 40 views, which is 30 to 40 more than I would ever expect. And I'm okay with this. I think it's really something that I want to stay in this, because real people find you more, because you have to search. That's what's beautiful about being a small channel, is people really, really, really have to be looking for whatever it is that you're somehow on their feed. I don't know how that shit works. I don't know if it's certain words you say or certain topics, I don't know. But that's what I find to be really cool and really rewarding. Because I understand it in my way of thinking would be, I'm not a channel where I'm talking about Marvel Comics, or I'm talking about sports, or I'm talking about Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, or my opinion on political, like what Trump said, or like me talking about trans shit, or you know what I mean? Like, it's not something that people are looking for. What we're doing here, nobody's looking for. No one's looking for a guy talking about a book he's making, and generally his thoughts about the authorship and his life and blah, blah, blah. Like, no one's looking for that, so you're not going to find me unless you're fucking looking for something that I'm involved with. And that's kind of how I like it. I like it to be quiet like that. So I guess as my 100th subscription video, it would be how very cool it is to be here right now and doing this. And to have people generally watching and participating in some sense. There is a part of me that's like, you know, how many of those subscribers actually like give a shit? Because I don't know. You never know how much that stuff works. It's really weird. I don't know how to feel about it. But anyway, let's get into a video topic that will be very interesting for this specific thing. So, what's going on, guys? Danny's here. Hey guys, we got Danny. Danny the man. Danny the big man. He doesn't want to be a part of it. So, I've showed you guys this before. My little stack of notes I've been taking over the years for the book. And it does blow my mind a bit that it's not a toy. It's not. Just capturing life, you know? Because every time you go through your journals and stuff, you're just like, man, it takes you back. A lot of times in life, it's like, we can generally plan what we are going to do. You know, we have goals, we have accomplishing things like, oh, I want to be this, I want to be that, I'm going to school for this, and whatever it happens to be. We try to plan our lives out as much as we can. And I simply just have a really hard time with that. As a young man, I was always very... Hi, yes, hello. I was always just very interested in playing with my friends outside, hockey or Star Wars or Army, Navy, cars, you know. We were not creative in the naming of our activities, but we did them nonetheless. And that's all I was really concerned with. Up until I was a teenager, I was still concerned with that kind of stuff, like hanging out with my friends and doing that kind of stuff. I never really chased girls around. I never did that. Even in high school, that wasn't a part of my life. I was always just wanting to play and wanting to be a kid. Because I always knew, even when I was young, I'm like, you're not going to be this forever. Enjoy it now. Because I would see other kids wanting to, you know, do drugs or hook up and stuff or just be an adult. And I was like, why would you do that? You have the rest of your lives to be an adult and fuck it up. Enjoy this part now. So that's how I always approached it. Just fuck that stupid shit. So I never got, you know, I never did anything with girls. I never got into drugs and stuff in, you know, in my schooling life. And it gave me a different sense of myself. But because I was so like that, I did not plan out my future like they wanted you to do, you know? And even when I was in 12th grade, and you had to do this fucking thing where you're like, what kind of job are you gonna have when you graduate? And I was like, I don't fucking know. I don't really want to do any of that. But I knew what I was gonna be. I was like, I'm just gonna be a loser at a grocery store. What's the fucking point, you know what I mean? And look, here I am, and I've fulfilled my destiny. Have you? But no, I knew what I was gonna do. I was gonna work at the store that I work at now, and I'll probably die doing that. So there was nothing really to work towards in any sense for me. It was just, that's what it is, you know? And I've talked about a lot of things before on this. I don't know what videos you watch, so I don't know what to mention and what not to mention, but in short, I knew what I was going to be because of my education. And I knew what I was. You know, when I would sit in class and I'd see the kids that their parents had money and they were somehow just more successful magically. Like, oh wow, look at that. Look at they magically have more things at their disposal. And I just never saw them appreciate it either, but I knew what I was. I was some poor kid in a trailer park. I'm like, well, there's, you know, like, I'm not them. And the teachers kind of, at times, made you feel that way when they knew that you were some poor fucking kid, you know, or when you didn't understand things like I didn't, and they just threw you in a, what are those rooms called? A special ed room. And those special ed rooms were basically just like places to hold all manners of freaks, essentially. You had like the kids that were always in trouble, that thought they were thugs. You had the illiterate kids. You had the, what were those kids called? Like, you know, like the really retarded ones. And then you had ADD ones and just, you know, all manner of freaks. And it's just like, and I was sitting there with them. being treated the same, kind of feeling like, well, if they're all here and I'm here, well, I must also be retarded in my own way. And I just accepted it about myself. I just said, that's just who you are. You're not anything special. It really grounded me in that sense. But then I would see the kids that come from money, because the school I went to was like a ritzy farm school. Like, it's the middle of the country, but these people have money. And so, like, I don't know how to explain it. But I guess you have to understand where I grew up, like what I would consider rich. Like, when I was a kid, if you had a house, you're rich. It doesn't matter what you think you are. You have a home, you're rich. Do both your parents work? You're rich. Do both your parents drive and have cars? Then you have money. You know what I mean? If you're talking about going to college, you're rich. It's just like, I guess people don't understand what it's like to be super poor, to see that side of it. You know what I mean? If you aren't freezing your ass off inside your own home with a heating blanket and hats and shit on because your house is so fucking cold, your parents couldn't afford heat, right? Or if you weren't allowed to drink your water because it was so bad and it's got shit in it. If you weren't, I don't even know. It's the shit that kids would get up to. Like, my perception of what rich was is probably a much different. I would consider myself rich right now if a kid saw me, if the kid version of myself. So I really felt like disenfranchised in so many senses and lost. And it was tough. It really was. And that's what kind of contributed to my, like, well, you're not going to amount to anything because you aren't anything. Like, you're a piece of shit, you're nothing, you have zero intelligence, and there's no point in trying in this world. Because I never felt like I met anyone that challenged me to try. It always kind of came across as like, oh, for God's sake, let's kind of like scrape them along, you know, make them feel a little bit better, help them out a bit. I never felt like I could accomplish anything, that I could do anything. And that's what really affected me growing up. And then here I am, a grown man, when I get out of high school, and it's like, well, I'm going to go work at fucking Bush's. I already know that's what I'm doing. That's all I can do. And that's what I did. But my life started to change in a different sense as I kept going. It changed in a sense of figuring it all out for myself, because you go home as a child and you have your family and you go to school and it seems like everyone kind of takes care of you. You're not really on your own. You're just doing what everyone's telling you to do, right? But when you become an adult, all of a sudden you're like, okay, now it's up to you. What are you going to do? And I was like, well, we didn't learn any skills of how to take care of ourselves, so probably nothing for quite a while. And that's what I did do. I didn't really do anything of import. And it wasn't until I was 21 years old that I started to experience life. Before that, I was just sitting at home doing nothing. Now at 21 years old, I meet some guy friends, and all of a sudden, you know, these guys came back from the war, if you want to call it that. One from Afghanistan, one from Iraq. And they befriended me, and we started hanging out. And in my mind, you know, these were learned men. These were like older guys that went out and experienced things, and they had knowledge that I needed, right? They were just boys. But at the time, to me, they were men. And they really helped show me how to be independent, you know, because I didn't have a license. I didn't have, you know, money or anything. I was just working part-time in a grocery store and getting driven around and stuff. I didn't really have ambitions. I was just doing it and to get that next game stuff. So I'm going to get a PS3. I'm just going to kind of hang out. And I didn't have anything. But they helped show me how to get out there and start achieving things. And that's when I started realizing that what I was missing. And that was like experience with women. That was having my own vehicle or having my own place. That was stuff I didn't realize I wanted to have. And so I finally figured that shit out. And then once I did, I started to question, well, I don't even know who I am. if I'm doing all this stuff, I should know who I am. And then that's when the journey began. I've talked about it a bit before, but when this started happening, and I just started saying, like, we'd get home from music and I'd start thinking about, oh man, you know, like maybe I could make something. I don't know why I was compelled to do it. I wish to this day that I figured out the reason why I did it was, but I can't. It just happened. It was this journal right here. I just open it up and I just started to make things and plan out the book. I was like, well, I guess I'm making a book. I don't know. It mostly just started out making my own world, but that's when it turned into a book. And I thought, maybe I'll be a writer. I was so uneducated. Like, you should see some of the sentences, how they're written in here. You could tell this was a 20-year-old guy with a, you know, 6th grade reading level. Like, I just was very behind. We didn't really have English like you would think we would have. Like, no one ever taught me how to use sentence structure, apostrophes and commas like that. It wasn't something that was grilled into me. It was just forming sentences, and we don't need to get into it too much. Let's watch another movie, you know. So I was very behind, and I tried going to college for it. And since I didn't have a car, and at that time I didn't have a job, I would walk for, it was like an hour 45, I think. An hour 45 walk there and back. So there was an hour 45 and an hour 45 back. I've talked about that before in a recent video. And I was trying to do that because I was trying to learn how to do this stuff, and I knew that I could. And all the while I just kept working on this book and working on this book and working on this book, and so many amazing things happen along the way that I can't necessarily explain in words. So much shit that I've learned, so many skills I didn't know I had. Like, I never knew I could draw until I was in my 20s, because I never did it. I mean, I did it like as a kid would, but I never took it seriously. It's not like I enjoyed drawing. I just did it because I was forced to do it in art class. I was like, okay, I guess I'm a fucking drawing this. But as I became in my 20s, when I started needing images, when I started needing maps and stuff, well, who the fuck's going to draw a map for a made-up world for me? Nobody besides myself. So I'm like, well, you got to learn how to draw now, dumb fuck. So I worked on that, and I've shown maps on the channel before. And all the while, this book has slowly taught me of who I am and what I want. And to fast forward the story quite a long ways and not go through all the trials and tribulations, I'm sitting right here now knowing that this book is what I'm meant to do. That this set of stories, this channel, which is built around the creation of it, is what I'm supposed to do. I know that now, because it's all that I have. I don't care about the material world very much. It's just like, it's there, I get it, but I don't give a fuck. You know, what's going on with the elections now, or what modern culture does, or, you know, modern thing. I just don't give a fuck about the world. It doesn't mean anything to me. It's just a bunch of made up shit that people keep agreeing to over and over again and pretending like it's going to be different this time. I realized all this shit. And so I kind of tuned myself out of the modern world, and I see things happen, you know, or I hear opinions, or, you know, cultural things like, oh, you know, cat people or dog person, do you like this, do you like that, like what kind of clothes do you like to wear, and, you know, what kind of phone do you have, like all this stupid fucking shit. Like, I hear it happening around me, you know, people talking about TV shows and have you seen America's Got Talent, you know, and I'm aware of it, but I don't give a fuck, you know. I go to work, do the job, come home, work on the book, read, be with my family members and friends, and that's really it. I don't give a fuck about anything else besides that. And it's shaped my perspective in such a way where, like, even at work, I think people feel a little bit shocked by sometimes things that I say. Because I'm like a manager, right? And I'll talk to another one and he'll kind of freak out about, like, well, my department looks like this, and, you know, they're doing this, and the emails and corporates saying that, whatever the fuck. And I'm always like, who gives a fuck, man? Like, What are they gonna do? Fire you? Just do what you're doing, man. Like, fuck them. If they want it done better, they can come do it themselves. Who cares? A lot of people can't grasp that mentality for whatever reason, and to me it's natural to not give a flying fuck about what someone thinks about this, or if your department doesn't look perfect and pristine, who gives a shit? You know, like, it's a goddamn grocery store. Like, I don't give a shit. So it's changed my perspective in that sense too, and the only thing I truly care about is this book, and trying to finish it, or trying to make these videos, and they're incredibly hard, you know, because it's hard to just come in here and like, I bust my ass all week to this point. This is my first day off, and I'm sitting here like, okay, like, sit in front of the camera and talk about something, and it's like, okay, well, what the fuck do I talk about? Well, I don't know. You better figure it out. Hit record, and I gotta ramble. Well, I don't know, and start talking about shit, and I don't fucking know. It's like this exercise thing, and it can be hard sometimes. Sometimes I sit in front of this and I just like, I don't feel worthy enough. I'm like, dude, I don't have anything. I'm exhausted. I just want to sleep. I can't fucking do it. But there's this part of me that's like, come on, you got to do it. You have to do this. You can't give up. And so I'm like, well, all right, I won't give up. Let's fucking try to talk about something here, I guess. And it's just, it can be very difficult. And then I feel guilty when I'm like, well, you better write in the damn book. Why aren't you haven't written in like a month? You need to start writing. It's like, I'm just tired. I don't know. I got nothing. I'm letting it ferment in my mind, you know? Or that Forgotten series that I'm making. Like, I have the script and everything. I haven't even recorded anything or made anything at all for it. And it's like, there's this guilt, like, come on, like, you haven't done any of that stuff. You need to work on it. And I'm like, I know. I'm going to try. I'm drawing this new map right now of a region called the Mist, and it's going to be really important in the book, and I'm like still in the middle of trying to fucking draw it. I'm almost done doing the first layer of it, and it's like, I got all this shit, you know. I got these books that I want to read. I just finished a book about Taliesin, but I need to get into this thing. I need to learn more about psychology and shit. I need to learn more about mythologies. I got my mythology books. I'm looking right at them. I'm like, you need to get into those. What are you doing? You're fucking around. And it's all born out of feeling so behind. You know, because I didn't have ambition when I was young, because I didn't have any motivation. I started when I was 21 and older. I don't remember the exact time. But I started so late, now I'm like trying to like scramble just to get a fucking head, you know? It's like when you realize you should start saving money, and by the time you do, you realize like, it doesn't matter if I save this much, I still won't have enough from retirement. Even if I save 50% of every paycheck I earn, I still won't have enough to retire. Like, it's when you realize that, which I have realized. You just know, like, I'm never gonna catch up. Because I fucked up, because, you know, life threw me this curveball, being poor, it's like made me have to like think of this shit differently, you know. But I know what I'm doing is right for me. So there's a lot of factors that taught me who I am, but I'll talk about the money one. Like, I don't remember if it was 4 or 5 years ago that I started doing this, but I try to take the work seriously. I was like, you know what, I'll try to get in corporate, and I'll try to do my own thing, and try to make money and do this and do that, because, you know, the miscarriage happened, and I lost my girlfriend, and I lost all this shit around me. I had nobody, and I was like, I'm gonna try to have a career. And I was in my mid-20s, and so I did, and I didn't write at all. I didn't do any of this shit. In fact, I forgot about it, and I was like going to work. I was taking it seriously. I was working overtime, and I was busting my ass, and I was doing all this shit. I was taking it so serious. My department was pristine. We had 10,000 items that we sell in my department, and I'll have 2 holes at the end of the week. 2 things that we didn't I couldn't get in, or I fucked up on the order, and I was like, damn, that's not good enough, you know. I was looking at margins, and like, if I can do 1% of spoilage out of a weekly, you know, like I look at my sales per week, and if I can have my spoilage be under 1% of the weekly sales, let's see if we can get that down. You know, like I was doing everything I could to take it so seriously, because I was like, I'm going to run this department, and then I'm going to keep doing it, and then I'm going to advance, and I'm going to get up the ladder, and I'm going to go into corporate, I'm going to be a category manager, and I'm going to learn how to do this shit, right? And I was doing that shit. I was single, hooking up with some ladies that I shouldn't have been hooking up with and get myself in some trouble. But I was living life like that. I thought, that's it, man, and then we'll make more money, we'll do this shit. I have my own place, I have my own vehicle, I was doing it all. But I'd go home, and I started to develop a bad habit. I started drinking vodka every night. I didn't have much. It was just a shot's worth, you know what I mean? Like, I would drink it slowly. I didn't turn into an alcoholic. But I was like, I don't know, man. Like, you know, if you keep doing this, you're going to want more alcohol, and then more, and then more, and then you're going to start getting drunk. And I was like, I don't know. And there was a moment at work. So I was doing this shit, and I was numb to it. I had a very emotionally abusive boss, very gaslight kind of person, and it made me just doubt myself every day. If I made a mistake, just small mistake, I forgot to order one more unit of this goddamn gallon of milk, she would give me so much grief for it. Or turn on me in a heartbeat if her boss made her feel scared about her position. She'd think, well, it's his fault. And then I'd be sat down in a room getting yelled at about shit, right? And I thought it mattered. And then I had this moment where this is my, you know, that classic show, those two British comedians, and they did that bit where they're the Nazis, and they're like, are we the baddies, right? Where they're sitting there like, wait a minute, are we the bad guys? We got skulls on our hats, right? This was my version. I was sitting there thinking this is going to be my life, doing this, doing that, and there was an employee that I had who was just not getting it, and he was annoying me, and I wasn't being empathetic towards him, and I was just like, he's not fucking doing what I want him to do. I'm going to go to the management, and we're going to like handle this situation. And it was me, my boss, and her boss, and he was in the middle, and bringing up all the things he's doing wrong, bringing up how he's not doing this right, that right. I can't remember the specifics, forgive me. But I just remember he started crying. And those two, the other boss, are just sitting there like, yeah, you gotta get it together. Like, you can't sit here and be crying like this in public, you know? And like, they didn't give a fuck. And he's just like, I just want to go home. I can't do this, you know? And like, you can't leave. If you need to go out and just sit in your car for a minute, I guess go do that, but come right back and start working again. And he left. And I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do that to somebody. I felt so bad. It wrecked me. I was like, oh my God. Because it culminated to a point where I realized to get anywhere in the world, you have to step on people. You have to hurt somebody. You have to use people. You have to do things that don't feel right, but you can trick yourself, because if you drink enough alcohol, you won't notice, or if you get high every night, or if you don't pay attention, it's not a big deal. It's just business. It's not personal. It's just business. And then I started realizing how everyone's lying to themselves, and I started looking around, and I'm like, wait a minute, we're living a fucking lie. None of you are fucking happy. And I see you guys driving in with Dodge Chargers and fucking whatever those Lincolns are, like expensive vehicles, and they have nice clothes and shit. They talk about their houses and their wives and shit. And I was like, and you're fucking unhappy. And it clicked. I just remember that interview with John Lennon talking about, like, you know, money never, like, they got all this money and they're still miserable. So that's not the end of it. Like, money doesn't make you happy. And I hear this from a millionaire. I'm like, well, and it clicked. I said, there's no way I'm going to do this. I need to go back to what I want to do, and that's my book. even I know damn well that I'm going to be poor the rest of my life. This book is never going to amount to anything in my lifetime. I've like accepted that. It's not gonna. There's no way. No one's going to see all the hard work I put into it. It's not going to ever be something that I will get any credit for, or people will realize just what it is, what I've been putting in here. I don't think anyone will ever understand that, ever. Even after I die. But I knowingly will think, well, that's probably all true, but it's more worth it than going to work and pretending to be happy every day. I'd rather sit in poverty, like what people would consider poverty, with no kids, with nothing besides this book, than go out there and having this fake phony fucking life with this big house and this nice brand new vehicle, and I got a jet ski too, and I got a boat, and I got, you know, we go up to the cottage every summer and blah blah. Like, fuck that. This is way more important to me, and that's when I realized it. It took me so many years, my entire 20s. Like, I fucking hated my 20s. Looking back, I was, you know, fit, young, and good looking and stuff, but like that didn't mean shit compared to like where I am now. And though I still go to my job and I fucking despise it, you know, I took a step down and then I went laterally. Now I'm a manager again, bigger than I was there, but now I just coast and just say whatever. It is what it is. I don't give a shit. I'm going home. You know, I don't care what happens. I don't care if there's call-offs and there's a bunch of shit to be done. I'm going home. I'm actually leave early, actually. Because I know what's more important is me figuring myself out in my life. Because as I've been doing this more and more, and I've been working on the book, I've been learning about all this shit. Like, you see through the politics, right? You know, like, Trump gets fucking shot at by some patsy. Oops, excuse me, it's just some disgruntled kid. And they realize, oh God, the Zionists realize, shit, we need to do something drastic. How about we try to get a woman to be a president? And they're just trying to up the ante because they really don't want this all to happen. Like, you see that shit. You look at people and you see the way they act about their lives and you realize they're just fucking lying to themselves. You know, like how much they care about their jobs. And I always want to sit them down and say, you don't give a fuck about your job. Quit lying. Just admit you don't give a shit. And we could all be living truth instead of lying. All the way to whatever the fuck else it is. You know, when people talk about what sexuality should be or what genders should be or what this, like, you just know it's all bullshit. Like, this book has taught me that. Because you take yourself away from the modern rhetorics of whatever we're talking about and you figure out who you are. You start to just look at it and see, like, it's all just a bunch of lies and bullshit, and no one wants to admit it even though they know it's true. That was it's worth it to feel that way and to work on something that I truly care about and to do something that no one's ever done before, as in me write my own story, instead of doing what everyone's trying to do. And that's make money, have prestige, be noticed, be looked at, be commended, be a good boy, you know, make sure you say what's right, because then you be a good boy, you know, look how inclusive you are, you're such a good boy. All that modern bullshit, and you can see through it. And I find satisfaction knowing that I found something that no one else has, and that's myself. Well, I think that's where we'll cut it. We could maybe find some sort of, we'll call this like 100 subscription ramble, maybe, or something. And hopefully we can figure more out later. My main thing is always I try to be as honest as I possibly can on here. I try not to hold anything back, and I let you know right up front, you know, I'm not a very educated person. I'm not really a concise person by any stretch of the imagination. I ramble a lot. My mind's always foggy. I forget words mid-sentence. I forget a lot of things. But I try to just be as honest as I possibly can. For whatever reason, I don't know. Mostly just to leave a chronicle along the way of what this was, so the day I publish it and when I die, this'll all be here. So there is no doubt of like what kind of person I was. Like, it's right here. Don't make a fucking deity out of me. I just wrote a goddamn book and rambled through my life like everyone else. But anyway, that's that. And we shall move to the next topic. And I'll probably rest the rest of the day. We'll see.